Okay, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to get into user-generated content, UGC for short.
UGC.
Now, you know when most people hear content creator, they think of like influencers with these like huge followings.
Yeah.
But we're talking about something a little bit different. UGC is stuff like videos, images, even like product reviews, testimonials, that kind of thing. The important thing is that it's created by everyday consumers like us, not the brands themselves. And then the brands can take that content and use it in their own marketing.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is you don't need like a massive audience to get started and actually start earning some money from this.
Exactly.
And it's it's a really interesting evolution in marketing, right?
Hmm.
Brands are like starting to realize that there's so much power in just authenticity and relatability. Instead of always just relying on this like polished and, overly produced in-house content
Yeah.
or, celebrity endorsements, they're realizing that there's a lot to be said for just real users sharing their experience.
Yeah. Makes it seem more trustworthy.
Exactly. More real, more relatable.
Right.
And so that shift is creating this opportunity for like anybody to get involved.
Absolutely. And so that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to show you how to get started with this, how to like build a portfolio, get those brand collaborations going, and really start building your presence in the digital marketing space. And the beauty of it is you can do this without spending years and years building up your own personal brand from scratch. Like you said, it's about riding that wave of authenticity and user experience.
And if we connect this to like, the bigger picture, it's almost like a democratization of content creation in a way.
Yeah.
It's not just for like the big names and the established figures anymore. It's really opening up. And so to help us navigate all of this, we're drawing on this fantastic resource, a guidebook for new UGC content creators by Gladwell Tay
Yes.
of GLEP Digital Industry.
Gladwell Tay is just like, she is an expert in this
Yes.
field, digital marketing, branding specialist, and she's
Yeah.
actually out there creating UGC herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She walks the walk.
Yeah.
And, as the founder of GLEP Digital Industry, she's got, tons of experience in the practical side of things, like actually helping businesses build their online presence, and especially for product-based businesses, how to do that really well visually. She knows what makes content, really stand out.
Absolutely. And I think what's really valuable about Gladwell's perspective, and what we're really going to try to bring out in this deep dive, is that she is so focused on the practical. She's not just talking about theory. She's actually living this. So our mission today is to like really distill her guidebook down into the essential steps, the key insights, the must-know strategies, so that you listening can understand how to get started and how to really thrive as a UGC creator.
Okay, so should we jump in?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Yeah.
So chapter 1, getting started as a UGC creator. The first thing that Gladwell emphasizes is developing those content creation skills. This is like laying the foundation.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that, you don't need to be like, Steven Spielberg or anything, but having a good grasp of the fundamentals, that's what matters.
Right.
She points to photography and videography as core skills.
Yeah.
Basic lighting, understanding how to compose your shots well,
Right.
and then some, simple editing techniques to just polish up the work you do.
Right. Because even if you have the most amazing product in the world, if it's, shrouded in shadow or shot from a weird angle, it's not going to look appealing.
Exactly.
Gladwell also talks about the art of storytelling and engagement. So it's not just pointing a camera at something. You've got to think about the narrative.
Yeah.
What's the story you're telling about this product or service that's going to draw people in, make it feel authentic and engaging.
Yeah. And really importantly, aligning that with the brand's message overall. You can't just go off and do your own thing entirely. You got to really think about what the brand is trying to say and make sure your content fits into that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a collaboration in that sense.
And then there's the technical side of things, editing and all the different tools you can use. She mentioned some really good options like CapCut, InShot. These are great for editing right on your phone. And then Canva is amazing for creating graphics and even doing some basic video stuff. And then if you're looking for something a little more, advanced, Adobe Premiere Rush is a good step up.
Yeah, those are some great options. And the great news is you don't need to like break the bank when you're getting started. Gladwell's got some really practical advice about this. Even simple stuff like investing in good lighting, just a basic ring light can make a world of difference. And then using that, pretty great camera that's probably already built into your smartphone.
Right. Most people have like a pretty good camera right in their pocket.
Totally. And then maybe a tripod to keep your shots nice and steady.
Yeah.
That can take your content to a whole other level.
Yeah, exactly. It's about being resourceful with what you have.
Yeah.
And really mastering those fundamentals. And then once you've got a handle on those skills, the next step that she talks about is creating your portfolio. And I think a lot of people at this stage, they kind of hit a roadblock because they're like, well, I haven't actually worked with any brands yet. How can I have a portfolio? But Gladwell's got some really good advice on how to get around that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. Your portfolio is basically your visual resume. It's how you show potential brands what you can do.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, you don't necessarily need to have those official brand collaborations under your belt to start building a portfolio.
Yeah.
Gladwell suggests that you can proactively create sample UGC content. Think about it. You can do reviews of products you already use and love, create little how-to tutorials, show people how to use something that you're good at using. You could even do like mock testimonials, pretend you've been paid by a brand just to kind of show your range.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a smart approach because it really is about showcasing your skills, showing that you can actually create different types of engaging content. And when it comes to actually presenting all this stuff, Gladwell suggests, either a dedicated portfolio website. Platforms like Canva and Behance make it pretty easy to set something like that up, or even just a really well-organized PDF that you can easily share.
Yeah. And I think it's important to try to showcase a range of different styles in your portfolio, so that a brand can see, okay, you can do unboxing videos, you can do those really aesthetic-looking product shots, maybe some lifestyle type stuff where you're integrating the product into a scene. The more versatile you can show you are, the more brands you'll appeal to.
Totally. Okay. So you've been honing your skills. You've got a portfolio that shows what you can do. Now, the big question is, where do you actually find these brands who are looking for creators like you? This is Chapter 1, Step 3, Finding UGC Opportunities.
Yeah, and there are actually a lot of different ways to connect with brands. Gladwell mentions places like Fiverr, Upwork, People Per Hour. These are freelance marketplaces. They're not specifically for UGC, but you will find a lot of brands posting jobs there that might be a good fit.
Yeah, and then there are also these platforms that are specifically made to connect UGC creators with brands. Gladwell specifically mentions Billow, Incense, and Brands Meet Creators as good examples. They basically act as a middleman, matching up creators and brands looking for specific types of content.
Exactly. And then another good tip that she mentions is direct social media outreach. So, actually going on platforms like Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, finding brands that you'd love to work with, and then just sending them a direct message or an email and pitching your services. I mean, you never know what could come of it.
Right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've identified some brands that you really vibe with. You're ready to reach out. Now we're on to Step 4. Pitching to brands. And this is so important because it's your first impression, so you really want to nail this pitch.
You don't want to just send some generic cookie-cutter message.
Right.
Because it's not going to stand out. Gladwell really emphasizes the importance of personalizing that message.
Right.
Mentioning a recent campaign they did that you really liked, or explaining how your content style fits with their brand aesthetic. The kind of look and feel they already have.
Yeah.
Thinking about the colors they use, the type of imagery, the overall mood. Doing that little bit of research shows that you're genuinely interested and you're not just, spamming everybody.
Totally. And of course, you definitely need to showcase your portfolio.
Oh, yeah.
Attach some samples of your work or give them a link so they can easily check it out. This is where all that effort you put into building that portfolio really pays off.
Exactly. It all comes down to this. And the other thing that's really important to highlight in your pitch is what makes you unique. What value can you bring to their marketing efforts? Will your content help them get more engagement on social media? Will it drive traffic to their website? Will it make their brand seem more credible because you're giving them these authentic user testimonials?
Yeah, those are all good points. And Gladwell actually gives a really useful pitch template that I think is super helpful for getting started. It goes like this. Hi, brand name. I love what you're doing with mention a recent campaign. My name is Your Name, and I specialize in creating engaging UGC that aligns with brand aesthetics. I'd love to collaborate and create content for your upcoming campaigns. Here's a link to my portfolio, insert link. Looking forward to discussing how we can work together. Best, Your Name.
I love how concise that is.
Yeah.
And it's got all the right elements. It starts with that personalized opener,
Yeah.
referencing something specific that the brand's done.
Right. Shows that you're paying attention.
Exactly. You're not just sending out the same message to everyone. Then you introduce yourself, you say what you specialize in, you express interest in collaboration, you point them to your portfolio. It's really well structured.
Yeah, I think it's a really good starting point. Obviously, you can tweak it and adapt it to your own style and the specific brand, but it covers all the bases.
Exactly.
Okay. So now let's say you start getting some positive responses to your pitches. People are interested. The next big question is, how much do you charge? This is step 5 in chapter 1. And I think for a lot of new creators, this is probably the trickiest part to figure out.
Yeah, it can definitely be intimidating. But Gladwell gives us some good benchmarks to work with. She points out that experience level is a big factor. So if you're just starting out, maybe you've only done a couple projects for friends or family or something, you're probably looking at charging somewhere between $50 and $150 per video. But if you've got more experience, you've worked with a few brands, you've got some testimonials, you've got a proven track record, you can definitely start charging $300 or more.
Yeah, and it's not just about how long you've been doing it, it's also about the quality of your work. If you're creating high production videos that require more time and effort, maybe even some specialized equipment to film and edit, you can definitely justify charging more.
Right, and it's easy to overlook this, but you also need to think about usage rights. If a brand wants to use your content in their paid advertising, that's commercial use, and you should absolutely charge an extra licensing fee for that.
Yeah, good point.
Because they're essentially buying the rights to use your content for their profit.
Right. Gladwell also emphasizes the importance of negotiation. Don't be afraid to have those conversations with brands. Obviously, you don't want to undervalue yourself, but at the same time, being a little bit flexible can be helpful, especially when you're just getting started.
Exactly. Each project is going to be a little different, so you've got to be willing to adjust your rates based on the scope of the project and the complexity.
Okay, so now you're feeling good about pitching. You've got a sense of how to price your work. Step 6 is all about marketing yourself. So it's not enough to just create great content. You've got to let those brands know you exist.
Absolutely. Gladwell recommends that you optimize your social media profiles. Make it very clear that you are a UGC creator. Update your bio, make it easy for brands to understand what you do and what kind of content you create.
Right. Think about those keywords that brands might be searching for when they're looking for creators. Hashtag UGC creator, hashtag content creator, hashtag brand partnerships.
Yeah, those are all good ones.
Stuff like that. And then also engaging with other creators in online communities. There's a lot of good Facebook groups, LinkedIn communities dedicated to UGC. That's a great way to network, find opportunities, learn from others who are already doing this successfully.
Yeah, there's a lot of support out there.
Yeah. All right, last but not least, for Chapter 1, Step 7 is managing your UGC business.
Okay, so now we're thinking like a business owner.
Exactly, because even if you're just starting out with a few projects, being organized from the beginning is going to save you so much headache down the road.
Definitely.
Gladwell recommends using tools like Google Sheets, Notion, Trello. These are all great for keeping track of your projects, your deadlines, your payments. And having like a content schedule for yourself can also be really helpful, just to kind of map out what you're going to be working on and when, so you don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And as you start gaining more experience and building up that portfolio, it's also smart to think about expanding your services. Maybe you start with just short-form videos, but then you could branch out into things like product photography, creating video testimonials. You could even offer script writing services to brands if you're good at that kind of thing. It's all about diversifying your income streams.
I love that. And one thing that Gladwell included in the guidebook that I found super helpful is this UGC creation process flowchart. It basically just lays out the typical steps involved in working with a brand. So you get a creative brief from the client, you sign a contract that outlines all the details, you create and submit the content, you get feedback and you revise it if necessary, then you submit the final version and you send an invoice. And then, of course, that process just repeats as you get more clients.
Right, which I think nicely leads us into Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Building your personal brand and tips for success.
Yes. So even though you don't need like a massive pre-existing following to break into UGC, building your personal brand as you go is super important for longevity and attracting more opportunities.
Mhm.
Gladwell really emphasizes the value of authenticity. Brands are looking for creators who can deliver content that feels genuine and relatable.
They want someone who feels real, someone who can just talk naturally.
Yeah.
The audience can tell if you're not being yourself.
Exactly. And then there's consistency. Regularly updating your portfolio with your best work and keeping a consistent presence on social media, that just signals that you're serious about this and you're actively engaged in content creation.
Yeah. Consistency doesn't necessarily mean posting every single day.
Right.
It's more about showing up with quality content
Mm.
on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have like thousands and thousands of followers, engaging with the audience you do have is really important.
Mm.
It helps build credibility, and it can also help amplify the brand's message when people share your content within their own networks.
Right. And the digital landscape is always changing, so Gladwell also stresses the importance of staying up to date on trends.
Oh, yeah. You can't get stuck in your ways. You got to pay attention to what's happening on different platforms,
Right.
how the algorithms work,
Yeah.
and be willing to experiment with new content formats that are popping up.
Right.
And don't underestimate the power of networking and collaboration. Connecting with other UGC creators can be so valuable.
Mm.
You can share tips, you can get referrals, you can even team up on bigger projects together.
Yeah.
And just to circle back to that pricing conversation we had earlier, Gladwell reiterates how important it is to be confident when you're negotiating your rates. You've got to know your worth.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself
Mm-hmm.
and charge rates that reflect your skill set, the time you're investing, and the value you're bringing to the brand.
Totally. And at the end of the day, your reputation as a UGC creator is going to come down to the quality of your work. Gladwell emphasizes the importance of consistently delivering high-quality content that meets those professional standards, both visually and in terms of the audio and the overall presentation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving into some more specific tips for success. Gladwell really advocates for focusing on quality over quantity. It's not about churning out as much content as humanly possible. It's about creating those really high-caliber pieces that are aligned with the brand's message and truly resonate with the target audience.
Yeah. It's better to have like 5 amazing pieces in your portfolio than 50 that are just okay.
Exactly. Take your time. Plan your shots. Make sure your lighting is good. Really refine those edits. When your content looks polished and professional, brands are going to be more likely to trust you and want to work with you.
And remember that consistency we talked about. It's not about posting every day.
Right.
It's about showing up consistently with impactful content that's cohesive,
Yeah.
that all kind of fits together.
Yeah. And going back to pitching, tailoring each pitch to the specific brand you're reaching out to is so crucial.
Yeah.
Always personalize that message, showcase the portfolio pieces that are most relevant to that brand, and really explain what makes you unique and what you can bring to the table.
And just to reiterate, professionalism is key.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to build long-lasting relationships with brands, you need to communicate effectively, meet your deadlines, and always respect their guidelines and requirements. That's non-negotiable.
Absolutely. And pay attention to the details in your work. Things like clear audio, good lighting, smooth edits, those little things can make a huge difference. And they really show brands that you take your work seriously.
Yeah.
And finally, make sure your content is aligned with the brand's overall vision and aesthetic. If your style and your target audience don't really match theirs, it's probably not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're speaking the same language visually. All right, so now let's move on to Chapter 3. Understanding your clients.
So now we're really getting into the relationship building part.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, building a successful UGC career is all about fostering those good working relationships.
Exactly. And Gladwell really emphasizes that successful collaborations start with understanding your client's needs. So that means asking good questions, really listening to their responses, and trying to get a sense of what their vision is.
Right. It's a partnership. And being really clear about the goals of each project right from the start is also super important. Encourage your clients to articulate their expectations. What do they want to get out of this? What are the deliverables? What's the timeline? By making sure you're both on the same page from the beginning, you can avoid a lot of potential headaches later on.
Hmm.
And Gladwell even suggests doing structured client interviews, where you sit down and have a conversation and ask these open-ended questions to really dig deeper into their expectations, their preferences, their long-term goals.
Yeah.
And once you have a good understanding of their vision, it's all about aligning your creative work with their objectives.
Hmm.
Remember, you're there to help them achieve their marketing goals. A successful partnership is one where both parties feel like they're getting what they need out of it.
Hmm. And trust is so important in these relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So make sure you're communicating clearly and transparently with your clients. Keep them updated on your progress. Let them know if you're running into any roadblocks. They'll really appreciate that honesty.
Right. And finally, managing client expectations is crucial.
Yeah, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Right. Be realistic about what you can achieve and in what time frame. Keep them updated on your progress and just be honest throughout the entire process. That'll go a long way in building trust and avoiding any disappointment.
Okay, so to wrap things up, what are the big takeaways for our listeners from this deep dive into Gladwell Tay's guidebook?
I think first and foremost, UGC Creation is a really accessible way to get involved in digital marketing without needing a huge following from the get-go.
Exactly. It's all about your skills and your ability to create compelling content.
Yeah, and building that strong foundation in those core skills, photography, videography, storytelling, editing, and then showcasing those skills in a professional portfolio. That's really your first step. And then you got to be proactive in finding those opportunities, crafting those personalized pitches, and knowing how to price your services fairly.
Right. And don't forget about building your personal brand. Authenticity, consistency, engaging with your audience, and always prioritizing quality over quantity.
And last but not least, learning how to manage those client relationships effectively, understanding their needs, setting clear goals, communicating clearly throughout the project.
Gladwell ends the guidebook on a really positive note, emphasizing that becoming a UGC creator can be a really exciting and potentially very profitable journey, but it does require consistent effort, dedication to learning and improving your craft, and most importantly, enjoying the process.
Absolutely. So on that note, here's a final thought to leave you with. Take some time to think about what you already bring to the table. What unique perspective do you have? What skills do you already possess that you could apply to UGC Creation? And think about the types of brands that really resonate with you. What are you passionate about? Where do your interests lie? That intersection is a really great place to start exploring this exciting world of user-generated content. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Thanks, everyone.